under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I almost said amen.
Good evening. Thank you all for coming on this special meeting. We'd like to call the meeting to order. The first item is public comment. We have no one here in the audience for a public comment.
Excuse me, Art, do we want to take roll call?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
Mr. Didat?
Here.
Mr. DePlacido? Mr. DePlacido?
John, can you?
John,
Oh, where'd he go?
We lost.
did we lose John?
He'll be there, but one's going to be stronger than the other, so he
I'm still here.
John, can you hear us? John, can you?
I think John's there.
He was.
He was. They both said they were.
Yeah.
John, are you here?
I don't know, he muted himself or not.
He was.
John?
Maybe you're on mute, John, maybe, if you're there.
He was. He talked to us.
Yeah, he talked to her.
Yeah.
Hang on a second. Let me see if his cell phone will ring.
You-
Hi, we're talking to you, but we're not getting an answer. He was offline. He lost the connection. So what should he do? Call the
Ask him
number?
to call back in and we'll
Okay.
conference.
She says call the number back. Thanks. Bye.
Paul, we have to have John call back in.
Yeah, he's gonna call back in.
Yeah. You want to continue with roll call till we get in?
Let me get the list. Mr. Olajeri?
Here.
Mr. Shaw?
Here.
Ms. Shaw?
Here.
Mr.
Right,
Votek?
okay, there's John.
Okay, can both of you hear us now?
Yes.
John, can you hear us
Sorry.
now?
Sorry about that. Yes, I can.
Okay, Paul, can you hear us?
Yes, 100%.
Okay, great.
They need to identify who's when they're
Here.
Here.
Ms. Shaw?
here.
Mr. Wojtek?
Here?
Mrs. Weber?
Yes. Here.
Mr. Zona? Mr. Enos? Mr. Kruger? Ms. Shea? And Ms. Terry?
Okay? There's no one here for public comment. We'll move on to the purpose of this special public meeting. The purpose of this public meeting is to discuss the hiring of a consultant and award a contract. We can open this up for
To get the
discussion.
matter on the table, I'll make a motion.
Okay, go ahead.
I move that we approve the proposal of the Allegheny League of Municipalities Public Partners for professional services for technical assistance, and for the commission chairman or the vice chairman in his absence, and the treasurer be authorized to sign a contract with them. So that's my whole motion.
I'll second that.
Motion carries.
Paul, that was Paul.
That was Paul's seconded.
Now, did you want any discussion, or is everybody?
Do we-
I think we need to, even though, we have the commission will be entering into the contract, I think it's important to keep the township apprised or, involved in what we're doing here. And I think, there was some contract language we want to make sure is adequate. So maybe we can have the resolution say that as long as we come to some, agreement on the final terms of the contract, that then we can execute it.
And this is Lydia Caparosa, with Marshop. As I mentioned, just generally at the beginning, there were additional terms that the contractor or consultant had included in that were circulated earlier today that were not initially included as part of
Right, but I know Toby Kordak, that Jason Davidoff, who's on vacation, said you can talk to Toby Kordak and iron it out with him. My point here is, the township does not need to sign anything. They are not a partner to this. It is between the commission and the consultant. And that's the way the state law is structured, because it is a conflict of interest for the township to be involved in anything other than providing us a budget and making sure that our expenditures are within it. That is the way the law says it is supposed to work.
And
Oh, go ahead. No, you, Lydia, go ahead.
Yeah, and I understand that, I do, but part of that proposal also includes a component that isn't the commission's responsibility, like it includes the administrative code provisions, which are township related to the extent we get to that point in time as part of that proposal. But additionally, like, again, I understand that we have a budget, but, you know, we're the ones that are ultimately, the township is the one that's paying the bill, and so if there's a dispute that comes up, side of it, that would be something that would need to be addressed. And so we would want the contractual protection for the township on the payment side of it. Not, I think, any intention that the township's gonna be directing or canceling or doing anything. It's truly just we're the pass-through entity and we need to protect that level of it.
But I do not consider you to be a pass-through entity, because you've set a budget for us. And when you look at Luzerne County or anybody else who's having a study, their contract with their consultant does not involve the municipality that set their budget. It involves the commission and the consultant.
And that may be what their practice is. I mean, that's just based on our review and recommendation, you know, from our perspective as affecting the township. I don't know what DCED's recommendation is, but this is the proposal that went out as structured with the township as the party. So DCED, I think, Terry Kumpel.
This is my concern, fellow commission members, and I'm only one voice, but, until we have the consultant on board, and we, you know, the resolution includes either the chair or the vice chair or the treasurer, I, for one, prefer to have an attorney look at any contract before I sign it. And the fact that we don't have any type of, legal professional, you know, to do that other than this Attorney Shaw, I think that's why I felt comfortable engaging with Attorney Shaw, to review that language. And I think it's a good CYA for all of us to have an attorney, review that language before we actually sign it. Whether it's myself or Art and Jim, I think it's never a bad idea to have an attorney review the legal lead that's included in a 20-page document before we put our names on it. Once we have a consultant, I think that we proceed with the consultant, and the township kind of is kind of odd, you know, kind of takes a side part to what goes on. But I think at least to this point, we should engage Mr. Shaw, Attorney Shaw, to give us, you know, the fact that he agrees with the language that's in the contract. But frankly, it's for all of our benefit until we get that consultant on board.
Well, what normally happens is you approve the consultant and the consultant sends you a contract to sign, not the other way around. This went out with a proposal from Attorney Shaw, unbeknownst to us, and the consultant had problems with it. And so the consultant has changed it. So how much are we gonna go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and argue about this? It's gotta get worked out. It's gotta get worked out.
I think if it doesn't, if we don't have an agreement on the township side, this is my personal opinion. I think by the 6th, when they have their meeting, then I think we take the next steps. But I think it would be maybe a little bit unwise. You know, you say contract, we have an RFP and a performance of duties, and I think the RFP, they sent it back with some ideas. And I mean, do we know what they say when there's indemnification? They're going to indemnify us, they're not going to indemnify us. I think we have to be careful with that. It's, when you say contract, the contract that went out was the RFP. That's the only document that went out was the RFP, and they made a submittal, a proposal back to us. And I think there's just enough in there that I prefer to have somebody look at. If we don't have a agreement by the 6th, you know, hopefully they can get it worked out by the 6th, the contract language, then I think we take the next step. But I think, like I said, I just feel more comfortable having somebody give it, a legal person give it its blessing before I, or I don't want to speak for anybody else, but before we affix our name to that contract, that's all. So that,
I understand that, then should we have a vote on this motion, because this motion is just to do, actually just that, and then you won't be signing it unless you approve it. And meanwhile, I think, I'm gonna get a hold of Luzerne County, and I'm going to ask to see a copy of the contract that they signed with their consultant.
And so I don't know what Terry Campbell's recommendation is.
well, what does the rest of the commission feel comfortable doing, I guess, is the question.
Hey, Paul, Bill Schaaf. I agree with you. There's too many loose ends on the agreement as it stands right now. I'm not sure I know how to tie them together, given the fact that one of the people from, what do they call themselves, ALM, is on vacation until the 7th, which is the day after the township meeting. I'm open to suggestions as to how we do that, but I think we need, before we pass it, as a group, we need to tie up some of the loose strings that are hanging on the side.
Well, I think they have the second guy, Michael Foreman, that actually reached out to me just to say, ask me if I had any questions. I said, well, I'll talk to you tonight after the meeting. But I think we can get this going, and hopefully then we can get it to the supervisors by the time Monday rolls around. They could have some of those loose ends tied up, and then hopefully they would give us the okay. And it's like you said, not that they do it. I'm saying that they don't have to give us the okay. But I think it's better that, at least at this point, we're working together, and once we start on down the path of studying things, then we might branch off a little bit, but I think at this point, to get the contract settled, to get the budget approved, I think we should engage them versus alienate them.
Well, then I'll leave my motion on, because in order to get the contract to be looked at, the motion to employ them has to be approved, or there is no contract proposed.
Right, I feel comfortable approving your motion, as long as
Sure.
we get but as long as we have the loose ends, as Bill talked about, the loose ends tied up before we actually sign.
Right.
I'm perfect with that.
And we do it regularly, sorry.
It's okay.
Or, so then we have a motion and a second.
Does the motion indicate that it gives us room to negotiate?
Yes,
with
yes.
A&M? Is that clear?
Yeah, I think you could add that, contingent on negotiating.
Right, it's,
Contingent on a satisfactory,
it's contingent upon them signing it, the chair or the vice chair and the treasurer, but they won't sign it unless it's okay.
100% agree, that's exactly right.
So that was in the
That can be
motion.
done? Okay.
I tend to agree with that. All right, so do we have a second for that motion?
Paul seconded it.
I already seconded it.
All right, the motion then is carried. Do you want to, take a vote.
We have to vote.
Yeah, I got ahead of myself. All in favor of the? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion is so carried.
For,
Yes.
for discussion, it seems that there is a conflict between Mill Creek Township / Attorney Shaw and what we think, per Sue Weber, are necessary documents. Do we need to look outside of Attorney Shaw for a review? It's a rhetorical question on my part. I don't know the answer.
Well,
Not to question his integrity in the slides. I want to make sure the record is absolutely clear on that. It just is could be the appearance of a conflict of interest. That make sense? Am I saying it?
No,
Suze?
I understand that perspective.
He's not here to defend himself. That's not fair.
No, I understand that. And like certainly the RFP, the agreement that went with the RFP is a standard professional services agreement that is utilized regularly. And so the terms that are in there are standard, nothing unique, but are catered to government entities, so.
So what you're saying is the way it looks now, the way Public Partners has changed, you got a copy of this today, right?
He's just,
The way that Public Partners
The
has
answer to his
changed
question
it.
is no, I did not get it today. So I have not seen this document,
Oh,
Paul,
okay.
yellow
So,
stuff and.
so you would want, you're suggesting maybe someone else should review it besides Attorney Shaw?
Well, if I'm,
Go ahead. No.
Concern with the conflict is with the township having to approve the agreement. Or entering, like that was the real ultimate concern is, like I think some of it is like the township's conflict is like if we approve the agreement,
that's why the consultant has changed it, taken the word township out of it and just put, it's between the commission and them, that's why they removed that, I take it.
This is the township's template, right? This is the township's
It
template?
is the township's template, but it was submitted after review from Terry Council. They've all reviewed it, all as part of that process for the RFP.
Yep.
It was structured
Yes.
that way because it was recommended, I think, I wasn't necessarily part of those initial conversations. I think the recommendation was from Terry Council that it would be with the township. I could be wrong, but that was my understanding, which is why it was structured as between the township and the consultant and not the commission and the consultant.
Well, that was,
Right, because the
Is-
contract is between the commission and the consultant, and that's how they've changed it, I see, I know, but Bill, we'll get you a copy to look at, because you don't even have a copy.
But no, in terms of the.
I don't, excuse me, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Paul.
Okay, while we may even go different directions, I think right now, I don't believe there's a conflict for, Mark to review the contract language. That's just my humble opinion. At some point, we might go in different directions and there might, like you said, the independence of the commission, would be warranted down the road. But I think as far as contract language, we want to get somebody else in there, I wouldn't be opposed to that, but I don't believe we should do it because there's a conflict of interest. If we want to use somebody else, that's fine, but, we've been gone this far. I have no allegiance to Mark. I just felt he was the easiest one to use because he was involved from the get-go in those meetings, so.
I'm hesitant,
There's any conflict.
I'm hesitant to introduce another party to it. It's gonna delay the process, and I have no,
We don't do
I
that.
haven't looked at it, I haven't reviewed
I-
the terms of it, and like, there are some things that really just clarifying what the scope of what they're doing is, just outlining, okay, how are you gonna be billing, so things are not like how they're gonna function, but it's just, this is the scope of the services they're providing, here's how they're gonna be billing, so a lot of them are not, like substantive as to what work they're
Right.
gonna be doing.
When's Mark coming back?
He comes back on Saturday, God willing with the weather, but he'll be back for the Monday, our Monday meeting.
Right, and it really, if it didn't get approved at the Monday meeting, that wouldn't make any difference, because it doesn't have to be approved by the township, so there's no technical
Yeah.
thing going on there.
Yeah, I think it's still on.
Correct. If we're intending to hire them, I think they would be willing to go, to come and join us for our next meeting, Alon or Public Partners. And eventually, but until the contract gets, the blessing of some legal person, then I think that, I think they would be willing to participate and guide us till that point.
May I say
Just a
something?
comment, when you folks are all talking, nobody can hear you who are listening in.
I just wanted to say about the insurance requirements. That's kind of my thing that I've done for too many years. And, I agree with a lot of what Mark has said about the insurance requirements. Additional insured, primary non-contributory, waiver subrogation.
That was one of the big things.
All the things, those things, and they've crossed every bit of that out. And that really needs to, that's a protection for us and for us. And they do have, there is an indemnity agreement portion of that that does talk about the township and agents and this and that and whatever. So it's not like we're deleting the township completely, but the contract is really between the parties of, and I've read so many contracts too, that's another part of what I do. It's between the two parties, which is us, the commission, and the consultant. But they do indemnify, there is indemnification wording in there that does provide, coverage, indemnification coverage to the township. Did you see that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was the big part too, is that their insurance, I remember they cut out all of those provisions.
Yeah.
But did what they put in cover, or did?
No, they took out, we have a whole, in our
Yeah.
standard form, it has like the naming the additional insured,
Yeah.
and all of
Waiver
these things.
subrogation.
Subrogation, all of that, they took it all out, which
Yeah.
is a standard, they also reduced their coverage limits.
Right.
I don't think Paul and John can hear you. I don't think Paul and John can hear you.
Oh, really?
Right.
Okay.
I
Did you hear what I said?
Oh, Paul, you heard everything?
Oh, yeah.
that was.
John? Okay.
The problem is in the live cast, the people watching live cast have no idea
Oh.
what's going on.
Oh, okay.
Well,
Um,
Paul,
Okay,
that
so-
was Marcia Terry that was speaking about contracts.
Yeah, and the insurance requirement. I agree with what Mark, or you guys probably use on a daily basis for your contracts should get here too. So that's one
You probably need a microphone so the people that are watching the live telecast can hear you.
Up there.
We
The
can-
podium.
Okay,
Go ahead, could you repeat that?
sure, I can do that.
Is it on?
Cheryl, is that on?
Okay.
Yes, it's
Yes,
on.
it is.
Go ahead.
Okay, as far as the insurance requirements, I believe that Mark's interpretation and what he wanted is fine. I mean, that's what I'm used to. Additional insured for the GL, 30 days and notice of cancellation. The certificate needs to be provided 2 years after completion of the project. These are customary things that you see in most contracts. Waiver of subrogation, primary non-contributory, all these things, additional insured on the professional. The limits have to be, I think that we need to kind of tighten up the limits that they're asking for. They did provide a certificate of insurance. If you notice that, didn't have professional, didn't have any contractual liability verbiage. There wasn't even dates on the thing. I think the only date that it had was the work comp, and that's like in April 2024 to 25. But, yeah, they have a lot of work to do as far as their certificate of insurance requirements. My opinion.
I think it's very important, and I think that, I'm agreeing with Paul that we should have Mark look at it and make sure that everything is the legal ace is correct. We can pass the motion, assuming those clauses can be rectified to
And I think
mutual.
The motion said that, wasn't it? It was pending,
Yes,
so.
yes,
You all voted.
yes,
for
yes,
Subject to.
subject to.
to-
Yep.
Do we have any other comments on that?
Well, I think Paul's comments are really valid, that I don't think having Mark look over a contract, if any kind of, can be called on, some sort of issue, but, at least we'll have some eyes on it that will say that, yeah, legalese-wise, it's okay. But I also think we ought to start looking for another lawyer for our purposes, down the road. I think anything further, as we get into the project with Mark, might be a little difficult, and I would think that we'd want, some outside counsel to, help us out, and the search for that should begin. We're losing time here.
Right, Public Partners has a legal team.
Right, as Sue just said, Public Partners does
Has a
have,
legal team.
they have legal counsel to aid in that. I'm not sure that we need additional
Right,
counsel.
I see what John's talking about. If we hired them, they made it clear, during the course of the study, if any legal issues come up that we have questions on, they just refer to their legal counsel, which is part of their package and part of their team.
That's part of what we're
Right, right.
purchasing.
That's exactly right, Sue, and Art. John, when I said I talked to that, foreman, Michael Foreman, he did remind me of that, because I said, we need Mark to look at this, look at the contract language, my opinion. But he said, part of our services is that they have, legal advisors, as part of their team. So, as far as their contract and the budgeting for Jim and Bill and Sue, I don't think we need to budget additional legal fees. I think it's all part of their, services they provide.
Good.
Correct.
Is that built into our estimate?
Yes, it's part of their
Yeah.
services.
It's a package, John.
Yes. Well, that's a good point. I think that we rely on their legal, and we kind of divorce ourselves from the township as we start down the path of the study.
Correct.
Oh, yeah.
Correct.
Avoid any I think that's the way it has to be, somehow.
Absolutely, yes.
Point of order was,
But what you're saying is that their legal counsel is built into the project for the amount of money we're talking about tonight.
Yes.
Yes. The legal fees are part of the package, John.
Okay. I mean, I didn't see hours
Bill?
Was anybody from ALM invited to be here at the meeting tonight?
No.
No.
Okay.
Timeline, what would be the timeline at this point, for Mark Shaw to look at it?
Yeah, my thought is he can look at it as soon as he can, but I think we reach out to, I'd be more than happy, or Art, they're there, but the heck, I got the numbers. Reach out, let them know that they've been approved and have them scheduled to come up, for the, 13th meeting
Absolutely.
and start us down the path. Whether we have a signed contract or not, I'll put it to them, but hopefully we will by the 13th.
Right.
We don't have to wait, like I said, if they don't approve it on the 6th, we don't have to wait for that.
Right.
We have contract, it'll be with us, between us
Right.
and the thing. I would be hopeful that the township would support it with give it a blessing at their meeting on Monday, but, we're not bound by that.
We're not bound by it,
No, we're not bound by what the township says. We don't need their blessings,
but they're writing a check.
yeah, right.
Exactly.
But the whole-
That's why
Go ahead.
I want to, that's why I think it's important to engage them and keep them apprised of what we're doing. They have to write the check, exactly.
Bottom line.
Even if you look at that, even if you look at the RFP in their proposal, not the RFP, but the proposal, they talk about submitting bills to us, who then turn them over to the township treasurer for payment.
Right, they bill us and our treasurer approves the bill and then gives it to them.
Right, but I mean, but they know that the checks are coming from, they're not coming from us. We don't have a checkbook, we don't have an account. So I think everybody understands that.
So Mark possibly will look at this on Saturday night?
Yeah, I've already looked at it and I sent him comments.
Okay,
And if there were, again, more substantial changes that they proposed that were not part of what we had originally provided feedback on. So, we have not responded to their most recent round of comments. So I'm hoping that maybe either tomorrow or like, early over the weekend, that we can get something out to them. But yeah, some of them are more substantial amendments, like the insurance ones, and there's some stuff on the identification and just the general structure, because the proposal includes more than just your, them simply providing technical assistance. It also includes that administrative code drafting, which is something that isn't what you all would be contracting for. So we need to narrow the scope of what the services that they're gonna be providing are.
They made that clear in their proposal, that that's not
No, I
necessary.
understand, but the way they have structured the language in their contract that they said, it's like the proposal and any other documents that they provide, so that includes the administrative code. So we need to narrow it to specifically say it's only this, because it's only gonna be the technical assistance, not them drafting the code.
Right, and they already made that clear. They said unless it goes to a referendum of the voters and the voters decide they want to change, then that document never gets drafted.
Drafted, there's no reason.
Right, there's no reason
No,
for it.
like I'm saying, the scope of services that they've identified includes the entire proposal and their, the RFP, so we just need to make sure that we're only contracting for the technical assistance, is one thing, but that's easy to confirm.
You should use the mic too.
yes. Is this something that we're going to send to the general partners prior to Monday then? Is that something that,
Potentially,
I would use the mic, that the public really
Yeah,
knows what your
yes.
role is in this discussion. I'm not sure as a commissioner.
This came from them, right? This came from Public Partners today, marked up like this. This came
Yeah,
from
but it
them.
was
Yes,
given
it
to them
did,
by
but-
Mill Creek.
Yes,
some unsatisfactory?
so to the extent for the public that didn't hear me previously, my name's Lydia Caparosa. I was sitting in the audience talking loud-ish, but not loud enough. But yes, so I am here just generally on behalf of the township and also to just, because we've assisted in preparing the RFP that went out in December for this, along with the agreement to seek bids for this consultant to help with the technical assistance. So yes, the agreement did come back from the consultant with additional markups that were not previously identified in the RFP, or excuse me, their proposal, some of which are more substantial than just minor perfunctory changes. So, suggestion would be, at least based on what we've reviewed and I've reviewed, just making sure that we're protecting you all from an insurance perspective, as well as, confirming the scope of what services they're going to be providing, and just, assisting in that regard. But that's truly what it is.
But understand there were no changes to their proposal or the proposal we put out. This is something the township solicitor sent with the proposal. This is something he sent. It was not part of the proposal, it was not part of their reply. They replied that way, that they wanted some things changed because they were in here, and he sent this.
No, the contract did go out with the proposal and was made part of the proposal, and they did indicate in their it went out with the RFP. When they submitted their proposal, they did identify, I think, 2 or 3 subsections of the agreement that they wanted changes, one related to conflict, and some other that they indicated perfunctory. And then the response that we did follow up, Attorney Shaw did follow up with a question because one of them related to conflicts, and that they wanted to change the language related to conflict provision because they felt that it was an issue. And so after inquiring as to the nature of that concern, we then received this additional red line, yellow line, if you will, with changes that they had not previously identified in their proposal. So they were just terms that you all had not had an opportunity to review prior to receiving them 2 days ago. Or maybe it was yesterday, Paul, I don't recall. But yes. But it is truly just the traditional standard professional services agreement that has been utilized. And from the township's perspective, I understand that you guys are the Government Study Commission, but it's just standard terms that protect the entity going into those relationships. But again, some of the changes that they did suggest were not identified previously and are more substantial in nature, just that require further evaluation before you sign off on them.
Art, can we go back and review the motion that we, I think, approved? And
All right, this is my
We
motion.
need to change it to incorporate anything
Right.
we've talked about since.
Right.
Make sense?
It already has all that in there that we talked about, so this is a motion. To approve the proposal of Allegheny League of Municipalities Public Partners for professional services for technical assistance for the study commission, and for the commission chairman, or in his absence, the vice chairman, and also the treasurer, to be authorized to sign the contractual agreement with them. And that won't happen unless that's worked out. And that's what we just talked about. They wouldn't be signing it unless it was worked out. So the motion encompasses all that.
Is complete. The motion is complete.
The motion is complete.
Bill, are you okay with that?
You think so, yes? Thank you. Paul?
Paul?
I said I agree on that one, yeah.
He seconded the
And I
motion.
think we're already voted on it?
Yes. Yeah, we already voted on it, yes.
Right, right.
Do we need any more discussion?
I think there was one other thing, guys, I want to bring up, and this came up in the minute from our organizational meeting, and somewhere there was in there that we had to have our final report 11 weeks to 13 weeks or something like that before the election. But I believe it might be 60 days. Does that sound right to?
I noticed a difference as well, Paul. I thought everything had to be completed by August 5th. And in the proposal, the timeline was past August 5th. Did anybody else notice that?
Yeah, but I think it's 60 days. There was some conflicting stuff that I was looking at. Somewhere it said 11 weeks or 13 weeks.
13 weeks. 13 weeks.
Right, but I think that, isn't it 60 days? I mean, we don't have to change this. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
so as we proceed down the path, that deadline might not be as early as we thought it was.
Right.
I think it might be like September 6th.
Yeah, it's 60 days versus 90 days. I noticed
There's a
that.
deadline by which you have to submit a ballot question to the Board of Elections. That's
Right.
totally separate. So if the commission makes a recommendation, it gets formulated into a ballot question, and that must be received by the Board of Elections so many weeks prior to the election, just like our referendum question was. And I think that's what's getting confused with the 13 weeks.
I
Sir-
think it just needs some clarification on that as we go down the road.
Right, we can just discuss that at a later point. At a later point in the process.
Maybe our consultant will help us with that.
Pardon me, John?
Yes.
Maybe our consultant will help
Right, right. Okay, is there any further discussion?
No, nothing here.
Every-
Something for the good of the order.
Yes, yeah, well, first of all, we have, no public comment. There's no one here from the public to comment. Is there anything else for the good of the order?
I want to make sure that we can, as we start to review language with these people and hopefully get it signed by everybody that needs to have it signed by, I'm anxious to get them to get some feedback to get us started. If I understand it, the first scope or first stage of this is to interview the current functioning government.
Correct.
And holy cow, months have gone by and we haven't got to that point yet. I think we need that committee. I'm asking you / the chair to appoint that group that's gonna do that, and let's get it going.
We have, they've provided a timeline, and I believe, Sue has pointed out that the partners will provide information prior to the January 13th meeting on the makeup of the committees and who will be doing what, so that on the meeting of January 13th, we'll be prepared to say, yes, I'll accept responsibility for this committee. So that will be coming between now and January 13th, am I correct, Sue?
Right, they are supposed to send a list of recommended committees and what each committee does. So on the 13th, people from, the commission members and the alternates know what committee they want to volunteer to be on because they know what that committee does. So in between now and the 13th, they're supposed to send that to us. So
That's the crux of what I'm trying to say.
yeah, it is. And the
I'll
reason,
reach out to them. I'll reach out to them and ask them to send that list that Sue's talking about.
Yes.
To get that, so that we have that in front of us before we make our decisions on which committees and which ones you want to sit on, which ones you don't want to sit on.
Right, the commission will have that information well in advance of the January 13th meeting.
and actually, the reason we were so late is it took so long to certify the election.
Right.
And we weren't even allowed to do anything, get sworn in, do anything, and that took a whole month off our time. But I agree, we've gotta get moving.
I'm probably verbalizing the obvious, but I want to make sure that
Yeah.
by the time we come to the table on January 13th, we've got some idea of who's going to be on the committee and
Right.
moving forward. I'm assuming we've got to coordinate it with existing supervisors, department
Certainly,
heads,
certainly.
whoever we want to talk to. And they'll have some schedules and vacations, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, if you've read through the timeline, the partners, the general partners have a timeline already laid out that will have to be strictly followed to make sure that we meet that August 5th deadline. Or September 5th, whatever it may be, September 4th. Is there anything else for the good of the order?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Meeting adjourned.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Safe travels.
Happy New Year.